Hey, what's up everybody? Prospector here with Watcher Realms, and today I'd like to talk a little bit about the whole Vorn situation, put my thoughts on it a little bit, and just kind of go over what all happened and ways we can make this a little bit better. But anyways, without further ado, let's dig in. Okay, so I know there's a lot of drama surrounding Vorn and the change in his skills. And because of this, I wanted to talk about it a little bit. And one of the reasons that I want to discuss a little bit is because you guys are asking me to. I have lots of comments on random videos all over the place, and even on Facebook and Reddit saying, why aren't you guys addressing this? Why aren't you guys fighting back about this? And I can explain. I also have to take a little bit of blame for some of the issues that Moonton has had with Vorn going forward here. So I wanted to talk about that as well. But first, what is the issue? Okay, so hopefully you can read this. This is a message from the community manager. This is the one that kind of handles all of the content creators, communicates with us, puts up things on the bulletin. This person is not really to blame for anything. They are just delivering messages and communicating between us and the devs and the community and the company as well. So you might see her actually put some messages up or every once in a while on Discord, but this is where this popped up to the content creators. Okay, and just a quick heads up: the new hero Vorn is officially live on the test server today. Please note that his skill descriptions have been adjusted, and there may be some differences compared to the version you reviewed on the test account, which was updated last week. So somewhere in the midst of that, they did update that while we were testing, okay? So if you would have tested Vorn late as a content creator, I think this would have been more like a partner type thing. But you would have had the updated version of that skill showing on your video already. Now, to ensure clarity for your audience, could you kindly add a note or pinned comment under any related review videos informing players of the following changes? Adjustment details. The skill Mind of Hatred now specifies allied fighter units instead of allied units. Awakening 1 now also specifies allied fighter units instead of allied units. Awakening 3 now includes an additional effect. The number of targets affected by Awakened 1 increases by 1. Thanks for helping, or thanks so much for helping us keep the info accurate. My initial thought on this is, and this is where I come in, I feel like I'm a little bit at fault for some of this as well as some of the other content creators that might not caught this, My initial thought is this is another descriptive issue. And this can happen a lot with language barriers. They are in China. They transform this stuff or translate this stuff into English. And we already know that there's been a lot of issues with that translation from time to time. Now, sometimes they can forget to add certain details. That could be from the get-go. They could have done that in China already when they added in there for the allied fighter units instead of allied units. I believe that they intended it to be allied fighter units. It did say allied units, but I remember in my testing, there was a moment where I was like, and we should have shield break on these units. And I went to go click on, I think it was either Nastia or it was one of the other platform units. And I was looking and I didn't see shield break, and I just assumed that maybe it wasn't showing as an actual buff, okay? Now, I should have questioned that much further than that. So I do kind of feel like a little guilty about this. And I think a lot of other content creators as well, they probably feel the same way in a sense. Is it a big deal to me? I don't really think it is to me. And I can understand why the players feel like it really is. Especially if you spent a bunch of money, you summoned Vorn, and you were planning on powering up a Praetus with shield break or Ingrid or something along those lines. Or even your Nastia, and you really thought that it would be a good plan. From my perspective, I don't really see how that could be the case. Maybe in something else would make sense, but you're trying to break shields and it's a shield break buff. So I don't believe personally that it would be ideal for 99.9% of players to be trying to add a shield break buff to their magic damage dealers in Abyss 1 just because of the way that the boss works. I just don't see that being the case. Most of the time, you're going to want to put it on your fighters. You're going to want to put it on Sumukong, Kagiri, Numera. You're going to want to put it on Salazar, whoever's on the ground down there that has that really, really high attack, especially because you're usually coming in with a decreased defense. You're coming in with a physical damage vulnerability. Whatever you can bring in there is kind of the ideal way to go. I don't want to say that for certain because maybe there is a way to do it, and I just don't see it personally, but I don't think that it was a really huge deal. But I understand where you guys are coming from. They told you it's going to be this. You bought packs, you bought shards, you bought whatever, diamonds, summons, whatever it is you tried to buy, and then they changed the details of a skill. But at the same time, I feel like it worked that way in like initially, and it was just not worded that way. So after that, there was a little bit of rebuttal from the player base, and everybody's really upset about it. And then they sent out another message here. Okay, we're recently aware the feedback regarding Vorn. They should have seen this coming. They should have known this was going to be coming. It's not going to be as a content creator and the way I see people react to things that change like this. We kind of knew this was coming once they did that. But we noticed concerns about inconsistency between the skills on a test server and official server, or global, specifically around Mind of Hatred and its in-game description. We'd like to clarify the situation. Pre-launch adjustment. During the final phase of testing before Vorn went live, we discovered that his skill, Mind of Hatred, wasn't consistently applying to the hero with the highest physical attack as intended. To resolve this and ensure the skill better fulfills its function, we implemented the following improvements prior to launch. You can see that they're saying here now that it's not the way they intended, and to fix that, they're changing something. So it reminds me, I keep bringing this up, but it reminds me of Diao Chen. Diao Chen would apply, I think it was a damage increase, I believe, to other healers and other units that weren't really doing any damage. And it made no sense at all that they didn't like lock it into a certain type of unit. And I feel like this is a similar situation where it's a coding issue where they weren't really sure that it was going to be locking into the units that they wanted to. Maybe they needed to specify that it needed to be fighters. Maybe it was a, I don't know, thing that it was hard to allow it to apply to mages and marksmen and not apply to the healers. I'm not really certain about what they're saying as intended here. To resolve this and ensure the skill better fulfills its function, we implemented the following improvements prior to launch. 1. Optimize the skill's logic, so that'd be like the back end, and description so that Mind of Hatred can now better understand and accurately supports the physical damage hero units. They're looking for the physical damage. If you don't know for certain that physical damage seems to be the most important, you want to get a lot of physical damage out really quickly and just bring just enough magic damage to get past the magic damage shields. Alright. Number 2, to maximize his synergy with shield breaking strategies, Awakening 3 was strengthened by adding 1 additional target for the bonus effect. This one here, I don't really agree with. This is a weird one for me. I'm not really sure how you can get 4 fighter units on the ground. I mean, maybe it's possible, but the reality is that I don't really see it. I think that they're thinking about, maybe they're thinking about Cassiel, and that was like for preemptively updating his skill to work with Cassiel. But with the current like meta or what the requirements are for Abyss 1, I don't really see a way of doing this because everybody's running Torador over there, or Talon is another one that the people like to run. Something that's kind of has an unyielding of some sort, or really high HP, and there's not a lot of fighter units that I can even really think of that can take that over there. So if you put anybody else around him, I don't see it working any other way either. So just as of right now, I don't see the benefit of this. Description display issue. After Vorn's launch, an outdated version of the skill description was mistakenly shown in game. This has since been corrected, and the current skill display will now accurately reflects the live version's functionality. So this is another big issue, and it's kind of like, it's a mistake that kind of just murders the whole situation, right? I don't really know. I think they essentially put this in there, and then they launched it on global, and for some reason it loaded the skill prior. I don't know why that would be. I don't know how that could happen. Either way, that's what they're claiming, and I think at that point that is the real issue here, this description display issue. Because if you guys would have seen that before summoning, you probably would have noticed that. And as far as us testing them, I think that we all know when we are testing these units, we show them they are from the test server. A lot of that stuff is super subject to change. Like, I mean, you could have a hero that we could show. This is why I don't like leaks, guys, right? You could have a hero that we show, and you know, prior to launch, an actual launch, they could change it completely because that's what the devs decided to do. So it's kind of our responsibility to try to get that to you as well if something does change. As you can see, they did notify us of the change, and it's hard to get that to our viewer base in a timely manner as well. It's not like, you know, if I have 2,000 people that watch the video or something like that, and then I go and make a new video, say, you know, Vorn's changed, then here we are and only 200 people watch that because they're sick of watching Vorn videos at that point. So it's kind of hard to notify the player base effectively that, you know, the hero has changed. But we can try. We can just try. I think a lot of us did. We apologize for any confusion or inconvenience caused by this discrepancy. Thank you for your continued support of Watcher of Realms. We remain committed to delivering a long-term, high-quality gameplay experience for all commanders. I think they genuinely mean that. I think they genuinely mean that. You know, whether or not they give you a bunch of rewards for whatever as hell happened here in the past week, you know, that's on them if they decide to do that or not. But I think that it's a genuine mistake. I don't think they're intentionally trying to put out a hero and nerf it before the player base decides to spend on that hero, and then here we are, you know, all mad and up in arms. It's the last thing that they want. They're trying to make us happy. They typically have shown in the past that they are trying to make us happy. As far as the summon rates go, that's something else completely different. Now, before I'm going to go over the skill a little bit and show what it's showing now, and I want to kind of explain why that would not make sense to have it the other way in Abyss 1, and we're going to go right to a battle and show that. But as far as us content creators and the test servers, we have somewhat of an obligation. They're giving us access to this stuff early. This is beneficial to the content creators, right? Us content creators, it's almost like a payment. So we have access to the test server, and with that access to the test server, we can make videos about heroes like Vorn, or right now it's going to be Cassiel or Narissa or whatever. We get early access to that. We get to show that, and you know, if you make a video, you get paid from the video, right? And but there is a bit of excitement that happens. It's a bit of a rush sometimes to get these heroes guides out, and I think sometimes what happens is we get excited about it and we forget to test the basics. So when we have here on Mind of Hatred, it applies shield break to two allied fighters with the highest attack on the battlefield. You know, I never actually just put him on the field and seen if he's actually applying that shield break. I don't know if War Guides did. I don't know if Fasty did. I don't know if any other content creators did. But there's a basic knowledge of testing that we should do, and we should also receive a little bit of help and guidance and like, hey, test this out, watch out for this. I think that would help us out a ton as far as making our videos. You know, sometimes they throw on there like, hey, this hero is going to be really good for this. It shows what they're kind of intended for, and it gives us a little bit of direction Otherwise, it's like going in there and you test for like 5-6 hours and you don't really understand it, and it takes you a lot of time. Sometimes it takes you 2 days of messing around with the hero before you decide to post a video about it. But a little bit of guidance from the devs would be nice, but it's also our responsibility too to test these units thoroughly. And I think in this situation we might have failed you a little bit, because I would have noticed that the shield break was only applying to fighters in the test server, because that's the way it was working. Mind of Hatred increases damage dealt to shielded targets by 30%, applies a shield break which increases damage dealt to shielded targets by 30% to 2 allied fighter units with the highest attack on the battlefield. Now this was the part that changed. Basically they just added the fighter in there. I think it was applying to fighter originally, and they had a descriptive problem, and then when they launched it, it took them 4 hours after the launch to realize it, which is actually pretty quick. They went back in there and fixed it quick. I don't know what to tell you guys, it's just kind of what it is. Each time the ultimate is cast, permanently gains 10% magic res penetration, stacking up to 3 times. Now the other one that they changed is apply shield break to 3 allied units, fighter units with the highest attack, so they added the fighter in there. And then over here, they added the number of targets affected by Awakened 1 is increased by 1. Otherwise, I think it was initially just Flesh Warp can be cast 2 consecutive times. So yeah, the testing video, I don't remember this actually being this on the Awakened 3, so my testing video would have been the wrong version of this, right? You know, I think that they could do a lot of things to make this better. I think they could be a little more interactive with us as a test server users. They could be a little more interactive with us, telling us what we should be testing for, or giving us a little bit of guidance there. We could also be a little more proactive about making sure that we read these kits thoroughly and we're not racing each other constantly just to get these videos out really fast, and to make sure that we actually thoroughly test these units to make sure that all these mechanics are working properly. And that's why I say I kind of feel guilty that we didn't test that, and we didn't catch it. You know, the same thing happened with Diao Chen. We know none of us caught that the damage increase was landing on the wrong units. You kind of put Diao Chen down, and we're excited to put her down, and it just flies by. You know, taking notes and stuff like that can help along the way. Anyways, guys, I don't really have much else to say about this. I think that Vorn is still an amazing unit. I want to bring him into Abyss 1. Actually, I'm just going to kind of simulate it because I don't actually have the unit, unfortunately. I wasn't lucky enough to summon him. But we're going to go into Abyss 1 here. And yeah, so we're going to just go ahead and I'm just going to show you how I think this should be working, and why I think that if he was applying it to units on the platform, I don't think it would work all that well. Besides the fact that we do have Cetrim that we can use to apply to the platform units as well, if you're going to go that route. Okay, so tank always has to go here. Maybe not always, but typically the tank is going to go here. And you're putting Kagiri here, because Kagiri is going to be sharing this damage when he, on the magic phase, towards the end, right before the shield comes up, a meteor shower comes down, going to hit Torador. Kagiri has to share that damage. He can sheathe and kind of nullify some of the damage that's coming in and survive, and he's an amazing damage dealer, correct? Right now, we're going to put Sumu Kong down. Sumu Kong typically goes back here or up in this corner, but in this case here, we're going to put down Volca, right? So we have 3 units here. It doesn't need to be Volca here. It's just an option. There's other options. You do like a Numera. That's what would be sitting there. And Numera is going to be a massive damage dealer. Kagiri is going to be one of the main damage dealers. Sumu Kong is going to be one of the main damage dealers. And then you're going to have a bunch of supports up here. Now, I can't really think of a way that you would want to use Vorn, possibly with a Praetus Ingrid team or something along those lines. I do know that people like to run Ingrid, but even if you ran Ingrid, you don't want your Ingrid to have shield break. She's not doing a lot of damage compared to these other units. You're going to want to have that on Numera. You want to have that on Kagiri. You're going to have that one that has Sumu Kong still. It's not something that I can foresee, you know, through testing and whatnot, that it would be better off that way anyways. But if you ran a Soul Cadence, you could run Cetrim, right? And a lot of people do that. They run Soul Cadence and they'll run Setram, they'll run, you know, the Hex or whatever. And then Setram can actually give the units on the platform that shield break as well. So let's go look at Setram quick, so I can kind of explain what I mean. I want to read that kit out just to make sure that I'm saying right here. Get back out of here. Where are you, Setram? There you are. Skills. Where is it? He's all damage to shielded targets. At least I thought he had some kind of weird shield break on here, didn't he? Well, he does it. Maybe I'm just imagining things and I'm wrong. Entering the forest, grants shield break. Here it is, the Awakened level 1. When entering the fortress stance, grants shield break for up to 2 allies with the highest current attack within the attack range. You know, you could use that to apply the shield break to them. It's a 30% shield break. It's the same debuff, or buff, I mean, as what Vorn is doing. Now, it is weird how it works like that, and like I'm trying to say is I don't think that it's that massive of a deal. But I do understand if you were one of those rare people that were pulling saying, I want to put shield break on my platform units. I'm sorry. I really am. I feel bad for you. I wish they could compensate in some kind of way. I think it's really hard for them to do anything about it. But I don't think that most of the players here are actually wronged. I think that most of the players here are planning on putting that shield break on their fighters. It enables you to have less physical damage on the ground or whatever, and you have an easier time getting past another shield. And I think that is the more ideal way of doing things anyways, guys. But I digress. I could be wrong. Maybe you guys are right. I want to know down in the comment section down below how you're feeling about this right now. Still, even after everything that's been said, everything that's been done, and you know, our massive compensation of like 100 diamonds for the skill issue. But I think that they're not really seeing it as that big of an issue for some reason. They're kind of, you know, dismissing it as like we're sorry, but it was an error. It was an error on their part. It wasn't intended. They're not trying to, you know, make a hero appear to be something else and then get you to spend money and then you buy the unit and then they're nerfing it into the ground or anything. Vorn is still a top tier hero. He's still a really, really wicked unit to have on your team and in your roster. I don't think that there was any kind of like foul play here intentionally to hurt you in any kind of way. But anyways, guys, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember to join Discord. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, you can always come in there and ask me in there. If you have anything about Vorn, please leave it down in the comment section below. I'm happy to hear your critique. You may or may not agree with me. Either way, I'm still happy to hear what you have to say. Just try to be nice about it. And you know, we're going to try to do better, doing more thorough testing on the test server when these new units come out. And you'll see that going forward with Cassiel this week and Narissa as well. We'll be doing plenty of testing to make sure that all the mechanics are working like they are worded. But anyways, guys, I've been the Prospector. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep digging.